All right, starting with the first player, I'm going to close this. And of course, this is still pre-game, right? Let's flip over our cards. But basically, starting with the first player, whoever that happens to be for the scenario, you can put terrain cards on yourself or your opponent. Some terrain cards are good, some hinder you, and you'll see how that works out. So let's take a look at what we have here in the US hand. So I'm going to highlight them all and Control F to flip them. Alright, so just right now, look for terrain cards. There's only one. Well, there's only one that's applicable to this scenario. Remember, the minefield card is a cower card, so it's basically a nothing for everybody. But we have a woods card here, right? So you'll also notice, so what we can do with that woods card is we could put it on one of our groups. And for Vassal, you would drop it on this terrain and movement square for either of your groups. Now, remember when we talked about our fire base and we talked about, they need 9 firepower at relative range 1. Well, that's not relative range or range 0. Okay? I said relative range and we're going to have to talk about that in a minute. But basically, you don't want your fire base just to sit at range 0 because it's really, really far away. When the enemy's at range 0 and you're at range 0, that's about as far away as you can possibly get in the game. There are exceptions, but that's pretty far away. But you see all these movement cards I have? So when I look at this hand, I think I am going to move my fire base up into the woods and get them at a closer range where they can start putting some effective fire on so my movement group can move. So because of that, I don't want to play my woods card right now. I'm going to hold it so that I can play it once the game starts. So I would say pass. Yeah, I have no terrain to place. So then the German would have a chance. If I had placed terrain, it's one card at a time, right? So I would have put the woods, the German could have put something, back to the US, they put something until everybody's placed all the terrain they want to, okay? So US, no terrain. Let's look at what the German player has here. All right. Really, they have no terrain. Wire is considered artificial terrain. So, and it's usually you play it against your opponent. It's not something you'd want to put on your own guys. But I don't have any terrain to really place here. So the German would also pass. So for these hands, no terrain placement. All right. So that is terrain placement. Had we placed terrain, we would then, we go back and forth till we ran out of terrain or till nobody wanted to put any more. You don't have to put terrain on, obviously. Like you saw, I had it, didn't place it. But once you're done with that, you would draw your hand back up, and then the first turn would start. And with this case, with the random number check, it was the Americans, so the Americans are going to start right after this.